So we are Empower Advertising Agency, and we will be introducing the BYTON IMC plan. And our ultimate goal here at Empower is to empower BYTON to achieve more. So jumping into our agenda for this presentation, want to go over our philosophy at Empower, our goals for BYTON, the BYTON background, company positioning and strategy, a competitive review of competitors in the industry that BYTON is now entering, as well as a buyer analysis proving what the BYTON customer is, our recommendations from Empower, and how we plan on measuring our recommendations into actual strategies and seeing how and what is working with those consumers, as well as a budget summary to see the allocation of funding from BYTON, and we'll open it up to questions at the end. So our philosophy at Empower is very simple. Our ultimate goal is to empower organizations to achieve more, and we're really excited to be partnering with BYTON because being that they're such a new brand, we can really use our resources and really strategize a name and for BYTON to make for itself. And honestly, we want to make a voice for the company because our whole goal in this year-long campaign is to allow consumers to not only gain an awareness of the company, but also knowledge. So they're very well versed in what BYTON has to offer. And then that will in turn make it an option for when they, in that target market, will want a new vehicle. And so we want to create competitive advantages through product differentiation in our advertising plan development and strategies for BYTON. And we want the company to reach its full potential. And we think that Empower will definitely help them establish that. So our ultimate goals for BYTON, we have three main ones, and the first one would be awareness, and we want to increase consumer awareness by 30% by the time the campaign is over. We also want to inform consumers, and with that, we want to advertise BYTON through features and characteristics the product has, and we want to be completely transparent on what features and characteristics the BYTON name and vehicles have to offer, and that way consumers will be able to fully understand what a BYTON vehicle is and how it will be impacted in the marketplace, how it'll be perceived, etc. We also want to allow test driving and make this more of a well-known actor with BYTON. So of those 30% consumer increase in awareness, we want at least 5% of those consumers to be aware that BYTON has test driving available, and those 5% go in and actually test drive the vehicles, see what they're about, and that will ultimately establish a better loyalty to the brand.
So for the industry and company background, BYTON is a Chinese electric vehicle company that was established in 2017 by former BMW and Nissan executives, which really speaks to how much experience they actually have in the car industry despite having not sold any models yet. They are planning to release their models in 2020. However, the pandemic, COVID-19, has no doubt skewed that release date. So just a brand review, BYTON is a premium smart electric vehicle manufacturer focused on the future of mobility. As a startup, they're more than another car brand. Its crafted cars integrate advanced digital technologies to offer customers a smart, safe, comfortable, reliable, and eco-friendly driving mobility experience. The most recent report we could find suggested that BYTON has around 1,600 employees. Despite having such a small workforce, it's actually pretty impressive how thinly spread they are across the world in terms of their facilities. Straight from their website, they are globally headquartered in Nanjing, China, where they conduct research and development. Their government relations and external affairs that's headquartered in Beijing. Global marketing, sales, and design happen in Shanghai. Investor relations are in Hong Kong. Software research and design take place in Santa Clara. And finally, their concepts, that kind of research lab is in Munich. To speak to the growth of the company, even though it was just established not even 3 years ago, I'm just going to run through some of the milestones that have happened since September 2017 when BYTON was founded. So 2 months after that, they opened their North American headquarters. And just the very next month, in January of 2018, the M-Byte concept was already released to the public and had a global debut in Los Angeles. In June of 2018, they opened a global headquarters in Nanjing, and they basically completed its financing goal and reached $500 million in funding just 3 months after being funded. That same month, they had a global debut of the Cabot, their second model, in Shanghai. August of 2018, they had their first drivable prototypes ready to be demoed. January of 2019, they opened their first basically kind of brick and mortar location, an actual place where customers could come and try out BYTON in Shanghai. November 2019, the M-Byte gives a debut in Asia at an auto show with other models from other companies, basically proving how legitimate BYTON is that it's at these auto shows. As for global trends and macroeconomic circumstances that are affecting BYTON, and by extension our IMC plan for them, would definitely be the global pandemic, the coronavirus. It's a social, environmental, and economic factor that is completely unprecedented. It's basically freezing markets like real estate and absolutely the automotive market. People are being laid off and furloughed and not allowed to leave their house, so no one's really as liquid as they were 2 months ago, and they're definitely not going to be making purchases like vehicles or homes or things like that, which is obviously going to affect BYTON and their return on investment. So as for BYTON's company snapshot, their image, and their place in the industry, they really specialize on making hyper-modern or even futuristic cars that incorporate smart technologies like no other car company has before. As far as competitors go, Tesla is really the glaring one, considering when people think smart technology and electric cars, they think of Tesla. Tesla is beyond off the ground. They already have plenty of models in production that are being sold. They have investors. They have a lot of brand recognition, and BYTON will try and compete with them. As for target markets, BYTON is really trying to capture the attention of markets all over the world, which is part of the reason why they have their facilities headquartered all over the globe. In order to compete with Tesla on a global scale, they kind of have to meet them there as well. As for positioning, within each country that they will be targeting, they're going to target upper, middle to upper class men and women above the age of 30 who are basically liquid enough and in a position to buy a more high-end vehicle. So they're not really trying to be anyone's first car. They aren't just selling a vehicle to get someone from point A to point B. They're really selling the idea of comfort, security, innovation, and the experience along with the ride. Basically, the appeal of an autonomous smart car with such innovative technologies, that's really the idea that they're trying to sell. A kind of user interface that has never before been implemented by any other car company. Speaking of that nuanced technology, these are a few examples of the technology that is unique to BYTON. Their fast charging, their rotating seats, their user interface, all the entertainment options available for passengers. All of the specs of the vehicles can be found on their website. That's where these images came from, and they are all unique to BYTON. So as for market share and sales, it's kind of inconclusive what their market share is, considering they really haven't sold any models. So there aren't any profits. You really can't compare that yet. However, they are worth over $1 billion despite not even having been around for 3 years, and despite not having any models, which kind of proves how loyal their investors are and how legitimate of a company it is. But again, since there's no fiscal growth to really keep track of, the CDI and the BDI for BYTON are both 0. But I don't believe that speaks to the potential of BYTON. I think that looking closely at the investors and their growth, their rapid growth, almost exponential over the past almost 3 years, that really speaks to the kind of company that BYTON is. So this is a SWOT diagram that basically goes over strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to BYTON as a brand. Their strengths include how they use technology that has never been implemented into a car before. They already have tremendous funding despite not selling any models, and they target a broad market, so there are many possible customers. Their weaknesses are that they're relatively new, and so they have no brand recognition. They've yet to sell a single car, so they can't benefit from word-of-mouth marketing yet. And although the estimated price of a BYTON, which is $45,000, is inexpensive, it's still a lot of money to invest in an unknown brand. Opportunities to the company include how they can continue to innovate and incorporate new technologies into future models. They can perhaps make a smaller, less advanced model and then sell it for less money to lower the price to make it more attainable, a strategy that Tesla has already implemented. They can also branch into other product lines and make electric bikes, trucks, and other variants of smart vehicles. Finally, threats to BYTON include competitors like Tesla, which are already established and target the same customer segments. People are skeptical of self-driving cars,
security concerns that other car companies don't need to worry about, like being hacked, screen brightness, battery management, etc. And the technology is fluid and ever evolving, so BYTON needs to constantly invest a lot of money in research. This following image is a customer perception map arranged by high to low price and high to low quality. As you can see, we believe that BYTON has a quality that is higher than a Mercedes-Benz or a Porsche, and a price that is lower than a Tesla or a Porsche.
Regarding the competitive review, we distinguish, of course, direct competitors from the indirect competitors. And among the direct ones, we found the top alternatives, which are Lucid and Faraday Future. And Lucid generates $7.5 million revenues in respect of BYTON. Faraday Future, instead, which is the second one we analyzed, is one of BYTON's top competitors, as we said before, and it is based in Los Angeles, California, and was founded in 2014. It also worked within the automobile manufacturer sector as Lucid and BYTON, of course, but Faraday Future generates 333% of BYTON's revenues. Regarding the indirect competition, the consumer, it's important to say that the consumer can also choose to buy a bicycle or a motorcycle or to use a bus as a public transportation, for example. So all these options create indirect competition for car dealership as BYTON companies. Regardless of which option the consumer chooses, his or her need for transportation will be satisfied, of course. Therefore, among indirect competitors, we found those companies that offer a different service, but that satisfy the same kind of need. Talking about target markets and positioning, we found more or less the same for every competitors that we deeply analyzed. In fact, all of them offer sustainable transportation by offering cars that are designed and manufactured as electric vehicles, of course. So, what are the target markets that those companies decided to address their product to? Those consumers are consumers that really care about the environment, and they don't want a skyline thick with smog and pollution, of course. But they're also interested in other fundamental aspects, such as technology, and also they're also interested in having a safe and comfortable ride. And they also care about sharing this experience with the rest of their family, of course. And we can say that the target market involves also the positioning. Why? Because the positioning aspect is extremely related to the philosophy that is on which every company is based, and their approach is fundamental to conquer a great position in consumers' mind. In fact, this company embraced the concept of sustainability and luxury driven by innovation, and they also set out to create a car that elevates the human experience and transcends the perceived limitation of space, performance, and intelligence. Clearly, the brand image occupies a positive position in the consumer's mind that confirms his or her values of sustainability, innovation, and intelligence that are combined by any sort of comfort. So, as we said before, those two aspects are extremely linked, and they are common for all the companies that we previously analyzed. Regarding instead the current advertisement that they implement, we can say that companies as Lucid or Faraday Future, but also other such as Karma, tend to focus on the same elements when doing advertising, which are innovative design, technology, sustainability, great experience, comfort, luxury, and intelligence. Every video that we analyzed, it is extremely focused on those aspects, but also it is also concentrated on how they work. So basically, in most of the videos we saw, there is a section in which they allow the customer to see how they work for their product and for their consumers. In fact, it is visible how they build their innovative design. Regarding their media strategies, we decided to focus on direct-to-consumer model, which is the one they implemented, and overall consumer conversation rate, because of course their objective is building a network of retail spaces to enable customers to experience the brand and its product in location that underscore its unique design and aesthetic. But it is also true that by using social media such as Instagram or Facebook, and here you can see two examples, it is also visible how the consumers interact with the respective pages. For example, here we have Lucid Motors that has 340 posts and 41.2 billion followers. Or also here on Facebook for the Faraday Future company, we see there are a lot of likes, which is really important, of course, for as I said before, for the interaction between the company, and its message, of course, and the consumers.
So then we want to go over the buyer analysis as well. And so with that, we wanted to break down our buyers into 4 different characteristics. We want to go over psychographics. So psychographics are the consumers in this target market that care about status and innovation, because they're more of those tech-savvy users. And we want to really strategically appeal to them because this is a higher-end vehicle, but also meant for the upper middle class. And we also, looking into demographics, want to target the middle class tech-savvy user in the age range of 28 to 50, more of those people with an established career and that can afford the vehicle. Behavioral, we wanted to associate those consumers with the technology that have conformed to them and coincide with the constant upgrade that this vehicle will be undergoing, as well as geographic. We want to be located in metropolitan to suburban areas.
Since BYTON has no sales to begin with, a lot of our marketing objectives for them directly correlate and align with communications objectives. For example, with regards to the communications effects pyramid, we want investors and potential customers to have more of a cognitive response, since BYTON is still relatively unknown. Because of that, our ads are really going to include awareness and knowledge goals, and the intent to basically have people learn more about the brand. Until they really start selling vehicles, we can't realistically expect or even hope for sales to increase and for there to be any initial return on investment on that front. But the same could be said about their market share as well. However, as per the carryover effect, we can assume that if our ads basically target awareness and knowledge, that there will be a long-term effect, which will then result in more sales.
Our marketing communication program will be mostly focusing on creating awareness among people and making the BYTON brand become common knowledge to everyone. As they're a new brand coming into market, we need to help them compete with the biggest industries right from the moment they will launch their product. Our main objective is indeed to increase awareness of BYTON as a company. With BYTON being a new startup coming into market with a very innovative product such as electric intelligent cars, it will be proposing its products to a larger audience, which is people between 25 and 60 years old, both men and women. The comfort and high intelligence of these cars is something never seen before. Therefore, our objective is to get people attention and let them know we exist. and that from this moment on we will be the competitor number one of the very well-known brand Tesla, among others, and we have to prove the audience that we can compete in the pool of the biggest industries. As I already mentioned before, we will be focusing our campaign on the cognitive part, which includes awareness objectives and knowledge objectives. So let's begin talking about the awareness objectives. We'll be obviously getting people attention by using different ways of advertising and promoting the brand, such as social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, using this platform with static and dynamic formats such as posts with links, stories, and all of the things that can drive people to act, but not necessarily right now. They only need to know that we exist now. At this point that our targeted audience knows who BYTON is, we can move on to the knowledge objectives. So here we drive customers to the website, where we provide them all the information that they need to know regarding BYTON's products and services, to make sure that they know that they're facing a serious industry with great things coming up in the very near future. Now we can use digital in a fuller way, adding swipe ups to Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat stories, also adding links in YouTube ads and putting the link in the description of each post that we make. In addition to that, we will be also creating specific content primarily focused on what they want to know, telling them the story of what BYTON is, how they were born, and most importantly, how their technological cars were born, and also what all the benefits that they can provide to the customers in terms of comfort, easy access to navigate within the car, easy to travel, and like how BYTON's car will be changing the traveling experience once and for all. So now, once people have decided to click on a link, we will try to drive them to subscribe for BYTON's newsletter, to be updated at all times with everything that is happening at the moment and keep track of the release dates, launching on new products, and also much more. This is to get people involved and get them to know always more about BYTONs, and also to have a real impact on them, because in this way they even if they haven't tried the product, you can make sure that they can start liking it. In fact, our main object during the knowledge stage is not only to make the audience understand what BYTON is and what it does, but to make people remember it, share it with friends, share all the new information they've gotten from the promotion campaign, spread the word that an amazing new product is about to come out, and drive other customers to BYTON by getting their attention and letting them know that BYTON exists and will be soon on the market. Another form of promotion and advertising can be out of home, like billboards, points of sale display, transit advertising, and wraps on taxis, buses, trains, subways, essentially on every public transportation, and also screen displays on airports and train stations as well. Another one is magazines, like on every car magazine. Main magazines such as Vogue, Forbes, and People, and all of these important magazines that many people read. On sport events is another way to advertise and promoting, like inside stadiums, of like football stadiums, hockey stadiums, baseball, basketball, and like tennis tournaments, and all of the biggest competition among sports.
For the review of existing programs, instead we decided to adopt another technique, which was the one to deeply analyze the website. In fact, what we observed was that a lot of competitors' websites, such as the one of Lucid or Faraday Future, could be a little bit incomplete, because of course if you put yourself in the shoes of a consumer that is really interested in buying a car, you need to satisfy any sort of doubts or question that he has. And this was a little bit difficult to find in the other websites. This is why we decided to analyze the review of existing programs by observing each section that BYTON website offered. We also try to compare all these competitors, and we found a clear image of how competition is visible. In fact, here we have the company, the leadership, the CEO score, the employees, total funding, and revenue. From this clear image, we can notice how there are small or big differences. Such as for BYTON, for example, the CEO score is 81 out of 100, while in Lucid is 75. And regarding revenues, we can see that the Faraday Future has a higher revenues than BYTON, of course, but that the CEO score is less. So this was another interesting aspect that we decided to analyze.
So in terms of creative recommendations when it comes to advertising objectives, as opposed to persuading or reminding, our main objectives for BYTON's ads are basically to inform, since they are a relatively unknown brand. Due to their lack of production and sales of units, we think before we could even, there's really nothing to remind the public of because they're still relatively unknown. So our message strategy for BYTON's IMC plan are to harp on the psychological values that people really derive from their car, and we're going to basically explain how they apply to BYTON. For example, the security and sensation that is associated with driving a BYTON because of their comfort and their smart technology, and how critics basically refer to BYTONs as smartphones or even homes on wheels. Those are the kind of things that we're going to emphasize. As for physical values, we are going to make it clear that BYTON, they're pristine, their amenities are state-of-the-art, their gesture technology has never been seen in any other vehicle. We are going to appeal to customers' needs for pleasure, comfort, and convenience. We understand that long drives are often considered to be daunting and very laborious, and we are going to try and make BYTON seem like a solution to that plan. With their ease of access, use for entertainment, and amenities for both drivers and passengers, we are hoping that customers will see BYTON rather than Tesla as a solution to long, daunting drives. The rationale behind most of these creative recommendations revolve around the fact that BYTON is a relatively unknown brand, and because of that, we want our ads to bring customers inside of the BYTON, inside of the vehicles, to basically answer the question, what makes this smart technology car different from competitors? Here are two examples of possible executions. This first image I think would make a great magazine 2-page spread because it really shows the smart technology as well as how much space is in the car. The second image is a possible billboard, which again shows all of the heads-up displays for the driver, front seat passenger, and back seat passengers. For media recommendations, we want to target media that will basically give us access to men and women of all ages, because that's the target market for BYTON. So to start off in print, we have magazines targeted towards men and women about the age range of 25 to 60. We'll use Men's Health and Wired, which is a technology magazine for men, and we're going to use People and Vogue and other kinds of magazines like that to target the women. We want TV commercials to target men and women in a slightly more narrow age range of 25 to 50. We're going to use channels like HBO, FX, NBC, and ABC. We also want to have product placement in spy movies, maybe game implementation such as Forza, which is a racing game. They launched a campaign in partnership with Halo, which is another video game, to basically have one of their vehicles in the game, and it spiked sales that way. So we want to basically mimic those results.
The 2554 M12 Force Application Vehicle, Warthog. The M12 Force Application Vehicle, better known as the Warthog, is a highly mobile and adaptable platform serving the UNSC. Famed for its toughness and sturdy design, stories about hogs surviving numerous tours of active combat duty abound, but none is more well known than the tale of the Daedalus. Near the beginning of the Covenant War, the UNSC frigate Daedalus went down in atmosphere over the planet Galgaleo, smashing into the irradiated world's high-gravity surface. The ship's molten wreckage was scattered for hundreds of miles, an unsurvivable event. And yet, 4 Warthogs had, in fact, survived the impact. Marines from the motor pool had buckled themselves into the Hog's seats as the frigate plummeted to the surface. Strapped to the ship's deck, incredibly, the vehicles remained intact. Due to the security restrictions of the Cole Protocol, the Marines would wait months for aid. To survive, they used the Hogs to desalinate water and search for food, and they even programmed their radios to broadcast the distress signal that eventually led to their rescue.
We would like to have digital test drives or digital tours of the cars from our home website. That hasn't been implemented yet, but other companies use that, so the technology definitely exists. And we also want to have billboards on highways and in cities to get recognition out that way in urban areas. We'd also like to sponsor some sporting events and have our logo just on the sides of the arena. As far as media timing is concerned, we would like to have more of a pulsing effect to coincide with sales promotions. Since cars aren't seasonal purchases, we would like to have ads running all year round, but like back to school sales or Black Friday or other promotions like that, we'd like to have the media pulse and be, more emphasized then.
For our direct marketing plan, we want to focus on increasing awareness for the BYTON brand. To do so, we want to implement a BYTON ride-sharing taxi service. The plan is to partner with popular companies such as FreeNow, IT Taxi, or other Italian taxi service applications. The way this will work is that we will partner with these companies and give out a limited number of access codes to consumers' emails that will allow them to use BYTON as a taxi service instead of riding in a typical taxi cab. The way we will select participants is we will partner with these companies and look through their database of the top-rated users and choose the top 10% of riders with the highest ratings and reviews and allow them to receive these codes via email. This exclusive experience will last for 1 month and give riders the opportunity to actually experience what it's like to be inside of a BYTON. The drivers will be given tutorials of all the features that a BYTON has to offer, and they'll be well versed in why BYTON should be the premier electric car. Now, the reason behind this is because, simply put, people don't really know about BYTON. When they think of electric cars, they really think about Tesla. Sometimes they even think of a Prius or other hybrid cars. And we want to actually change that. Well, the best way to do that is to actually get people inside the car. We want these cars to be out on the road, to be in the minds of the public, to be on the forefront. We want people to be walking down the street and see a BYTON and go, wow, that car looks really nice. I want to see what that's about. And we also want people to be inside of the car and actually understanding all of the features that we have and how immersive the technology is and how it's not like driving a car, but as the CEO likes to say, it's an extension of your home, or it's like, riding in a smartphone. The goal of this campaign is to generate awareness about the product, and it really would be beneficial for all parties involved. I mean, these companies like FreeNow and IT Taxi will generate a lot of buzz. being one of the few companies that are actually putting people inside of BYTON as a taxi service. And it will also allow BYTON this exposure that quite frankly, like they really need in order to be on the forefront of the public's mind. The riders will actually feel the comfort and the luxury of being a passenger in a BYTON, and the drivers will actually have a first-hand experience of driving a luxury car. And by putting these cars on the streets, we'll be able to actually introduce the public to the BYTON look. For our interactive campaign, we again want to increase awareness for the BYTON brand. And this time, we'll be doing so with a contest. The contest is a road trip with BYTON. It will take place over social media, and it will allow 10 lucky people the opportunity to go on the trip of their dreams in a BYTON car. Participants from all across Italy can enter by telling BYTON about their dream road trip on Instagram and Twitter with the hashtag #MyBYTONExperience. 10 best posts will be selected for the opportunity to experience transportation in a completely transcendent way. The idea for the competition is to give a few potential consumers the chance to reimagine road tripping by letting them actually do one in a BYTON. The winners will get the opportunity to take a road trip with up to 3 of their friends, and BYTON will provide them with their own BYTON for the journey. In turn, these people will then document their journey and repost it on social media and really generate a lot of buzz about how great it is to ride in a BYTON. In order to actually get the contest going and create awareness, I think it's important that we partner with influencers. And so I believe that the best way to do that would be by doing so with 2 popular Italian influencers. One is Chiara Ferragni and the other is Mariano Di Vaio. Now the reason behind this plan is actually similar to the direct marketing campaign, and it's again because people really don't know about BYTON and we want to change that. So the goal for this campaign is to generate awareness about the product, but also bring a lot of attention to the social media platforms for BYTON and get people interacting with BYTON and engaging with the product. Now, you might be asking yourself, but Elia, why a road trip? Why this social media contest? Now, the reason for that is I think kind of simple. Everyone really loves a good road trip. I mean, you can always, if you close your eyes, you can imagine yourself riding in a car with your best friends, blasting music, driving down the highway, the sun, glaring in your face. It's beautiful out, and you've been on the road, for hours, and it's a really great experience. I have so many great memories of just driving around and going on long journeys with my friends. But as we all know, the longer you're in the car, the more that trip kind of loses its luster, and it's not as magical. As that goes along, those moments kind of fade, and the experience as a result really suffers. Now, with BYTON, we can actually change that. We can change the way that people think about travel. Consumers are no longer driving in a car across the country. They're actually traveling in their 4th living space, with their closest friends. And essentially what it does is that when you ask your friends to accompany you on a road trip in a BYTON, you're no longer driving with them to get from point A to point B. You're actually entertaining them. They're guests in your home. And it kind of changes the way that you think about travel. It's a place that you'll actually enjoy spending time. And so this competition will give BYTON the unique opportunity to let consumers actually comprehend, what kind of enjoyment they can feel when going on a trip in a BYTON, especially on a trip that can be, hours long, even days. And that's something that really separates BYTON from other electric cars like Tesla. Moving on to measurement and evaluation, as you can see, we at Empower have devised a number of ways to help generate interest and knowledge and awareness of the BYTON brand. And so to start things off with advertising, we've come up with multiple ways, multiple avenues of advertising so that we can reach all kinds of potential consumers. We've talked about advertisements in magazines and on billboards, and off the bat, those things are kind of hard to gauge in terms of the actual numbers of awareness generated and how many people have actually seen it. But by placing advertisements, on the busiest highways in the most populated cities, and on magazines that really print the most issues and get the most eyeballs, we can actually ensure that we are still increasing our chances of getting the name out there. Now, with the BYTON app, that is already a very easy way to advertise because the app's out on the App Store, it's free to download, and anyone can use it. And with that being the case, it's something that we can really control. We can see how many people use it. We can see what aspects they really enjoy. You can, share, your virtually augmented BYTON, that photo. You can put that online, and that's a really great way to have some kind of advertising and something that we have a ton of control over. Now moving on to placing advertisements with TV, this is another key opportunity for us to reach consumers. We've identified our target audience for TV ads as men and women that are aged 25 to 50. Now we can't evaluate the exact number of people who watch every single one of our ads. We can still greatly increase our odds in a similar fashion that we do with the billboards by finding which TV shows that our target audience watches and resonates with through popular TV rating databases such as Nielsen. We can actually pinpoint what will be the most popular shows and networks amongst our target audience to advertise on, and that will ensure that we do have the most viewership for our ads. The next thing we talked about for advertising was the use of video games. One of the perfect ways to do that is through the video game Forza, and the impact and the measurement of that campaign is really dependent on the sales of the game. Now, Forza consistently generates anywhere between 2.5 to 10 million in sales for each game. Now, that doesn't account for the fact that some people invite their friends over to play games. Who knows if mom and dad are walking through the living room and they see you driving a BYTON car on the game. Now, while, the base is only 2.5 million, first of all, that's a lot of viewers. There's really plenty of room to grow because of how easy it is for people to see a BYTON car in a video game. The next thing is sports. There's no denying the power that sports has in our world, and partnering with one of the top soccer leagues and the top soccer league in Italy will allow us to dramatically increase awareness for BYTON. So now, whether it be becoming a league sponsor or it be actually having a sponsorship on a jersey, we can again increase our chances of generating a ton of awareness. Personally, we think the best way to do that would be through partnering with a specific team. The evaluation for this part of the plan is really dependent on which team we partner with. Now, as of 2018, the most popular team on TV was Juventus. They had an average of almost 1.8 million viewers per match, and the least popular team, Chievo, had an average of 303,000 viewers per match. So factoring in advertisements on jerseys and also the sales of these jerseys, that can kind of double the amount of awareness that is generated. Moving on to the evaluation of our direct marketing plan. Our plan is focused on emailing select users a code that allows them to access this BYTON taxi experience. So by being able to track the emails and seeing who actually opens it, seeing who actually uses the code, and then who actually uses the taxi service, we'll be able to see how many impressions we get per consumer. Moving on to the interactive campaign. For our interactive campaign, we can actually track the hashtag #MyBYTONExperience. Both Instagram and Twitter allow us to track how much engagement it gets, how many people use it, and that will make it much easier to monitor how many contestants we have and also how many people are just generally seeing the contest as a whole. Once we have winners that are selected, we can then surveil the engagement on their posts, be able to see how many likes they get, how many comments they get, and the same goes for our influencers as well that we enlist the help of. We'll be able to see who's engaging with these posts, who's liking them, who's commenting them, who's then putting in a submission for the contest, and we'll be able to really get a strong feel of the engagement and who is actually taking a liking to our product. Now, the goal for this part of the campaign is to triple BYTON's Twitter following from just over 5,000 to 15,000, and to increase their Instagram following by 25%, with plenty of room to grow, considering that once you put this out on social media, it will really live there forever, and people will be able to engage with it and reminisce on how great of an experience it was. From a sales promotion perspective, we are also centered around generating awareness for BYTON. So by introducing pop-up shops, we'll be able to generate intrigue and interest for the brand, while simultaneously educating the masses on what BYTON actually offers. So we'll be able to track sales of the pop-up shops, see how many people go in and out, and kind of see the percentage of people that come in versus people who actually buy things. So when introducing BYTON cars to local car dealerships, we'll actually be able to track also the sale of cars, as well as how many people have just, inquired about buying a BYTON, which is really the first step in, getting people to actually buy them. They'll be gaining a better understanding. Not everybody's ready to buy a car right off the spot, so just letting them know, how great the car is and all the added features will kind of hopefully push them to one day purchase one. The giveaway aspect of the sales promotion is much harder to track, but by putting cars on the road, we still greatly increase the amount of exposure that BYTON receives. Moving on to public relations. The public relations recommendations aim to create a specific image for the BYTON brand. We want to create an image that fosters the idea of luxury in the consumer's mind. And through endorsements and advertisements on social media, we think we'll be able to achieve these goals. Through the added business features from the platforms of Twitter and Instagram, we can actually track how much engagement each ad has, and we can gain insight into how target ads are doing versus ads produced by influencers, and then be able to see which ones are really resonating with our customers better. Looking at the budget breakdown for this campaign, we can see that the highest percentage of the budget was allocated towards jersey sponsorship. Now, the reason for this is because we use the estimate for partnering with the most expensive team in the top tier Italian league. Obviously, the lower tier of team we go towards, the lower the cost will be, but we also risk having less of an exposure for our brand. Now, if we partner with the top team, Juventus, we know that we have the highest likelihood of more exposure due to higher jersey sales, as well as more viewership per match. But if we go with a lower team, such as Chievo from the previous example, we know that we are at risk for having much less exposure for our brand. So if we meet somewhere in the middle, we find that there will be not as big of a cost as partnering with a team like Juventus, but we'll also be able to have more impressions for our investment rather than partnering with a team like Chievo, which would be the most inexpensive team to partner with. Other than that, everything was fairly evenly split. The advertising in magazines was a bit more expensive than everything else. That's how we budgeted that at. But again, we feel that, that's a really great way to spread the message and the image of BYTON through print magazines. But these magazines also publish online, and, we can take our ads to there, and that will really, kind of transcend global boundaries. And the same goes with video games. That was also one of the highest percentages in this prospective budget breakdown. But again, the number of impressions really goes a lot higher than just the pure number of sales, because of the potential, amount of eyeballs that can be brought on, whether someone's playing this game with a group of friends or just at home, or even, the game, advertising the game itself, being featured in those advertisements can then reach, millions and millions and more. So overall, this is a comprehensive breakdown of our budget, and we think we'll really be able to get a lot of bang for our buck.
Once again, we are the Empower Consulting Agency. Thank you so much for listening and understanding our integrated marketing communications program for BYTON. Please let us know if you have any questions, and thank you so much.